The Throne of Eldraine novel, The Wildred Quest, has just come out. Now, is it a massive garbage fire like the War of the Spark book, or is it something different? Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here for my spoiler-free review of the Wildred Quest. Now, depending on your definition of spoilers, you may or may not feel like this is a spoiler-free review. If you think something as simple as hearing Will and Rowan Kenrith are in the book is a spoiler, then you're probably gonna want to avoid this review that I'm doing here. But I'm not going to be talking about the lore. I'm not really going to be talking about specific details from the storyline. And the reason for that is me and Aetherhub are actually working on a collaboration series where we're going to do a series on these, on these books. There's only one book. We're going to do a series of videos on this book covering the story for you guys. And it's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to working with them. It should turn out pretty good. But I did want to come and let you guys know what I thought about the book and talk about it in overall very, very broad terms, all right? So we've got the cover of the book. You can see it behind me here. I'll step over here for a moment and let it get a little bit more of the screen space. Basically, on the cover here, you can see that you have Rowan Kenrith, who is one of the main protagonists of the book, along with their brother Will. Admittedly, I don't know why on the cover they just chose to focus on her and not have him on the cover too. But at the same time, when you look at it, it is very striking, honestly. It gives almost like a Red Riding Hood vibe. She's got her hand held up with some mystical, magical energy, while all these roses and thorns are grown up around her. So, the story is basically, in terms of planeswalkers and what you're dealing with, the story focuses on, you've got Will and Rowan together, right? They're the main focus of the book, with a lesser but still major focus on Oko and Garruk. And if you haven't seen my previous video, Garruk, for the purposes of the book, is subservient to Oko. Now, I'm not going to go over whether he gets free or anything like that. All that kind of stuff will not be covered in this because that would be spoiler territory. So I'm just going to talk about overall my impressions of the book. Are we looking at something that's as bad as the War of the Spark novel? Because the War of the Spark novel, my friends, was absolutely dreadful. It was plagued with a number of problems, and while partially I blame the author of the book, I also blame more heavily actually, Wizards of the Coast for the way that they handled this. Because apparently with the War of the Spark book, where we got what was essentially the middle of the story, there was a bunch of stuff we were supposed to have seen beforehand, but Wizards of the Coast just kind of shunted things around, didn't handle the story very well, and even the lead-up story pieces that they did for the War of the Spark book were very disparate and not connected to the overall Nicol Bolas storyline. So Wizards of the Coast really ham-fisted it, and then they decided to just sell us the Garbo book anyways. And honestly, at that point, I thought that I was done with New Magic lore. I was like, no, I want nothing to do with it. Now, flash forward to when this book was posted on a website before the book's release, and you could read 2 sample chapters. Well, I read those 2 sample chapters, and I was actually impressed. Now, bear in mind, when it comes to magic novels, there's a certain area that they exist in. Magic novels are in the mediocre range or average range of books. You're not going to find something as epic as your Wheel of Time series. You're not going to find something like Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive series. That is off the table. When it comes to magic novels, all I really am looking for is a average to maybe slightly above average book, because it's been well established with Magic the Gathering novels, they are not high quality writing, okay? So I read the 2 chapters of the Wildred Quest and went, oh wow, this is actually engaging. After I read it, I went, I want to know more. And there were far more details compared to the War of the Spark, where it felt like there was absolutely no character development, no really descriptive details of what is going on in the environment. I found that there was a fair bit of description. Now, admittedly, the book did feel a little rushed at certain points. The book is only 200 pages long, okay? It's not a very long book. And you can feel it at certain points where some of it feels a little bit rushed, where you're like, okay, you know what, they could stretch this out more. But they do a good job of adding character and depth to Will and Rowan Kenrith, all right? You get to learn more about these characters, not only their back history, but also their temperament, how they act in the world, all that sort of thing. And it really helps to align them with the color of mana that they represent in the magical world. Honestly, Will is shown in a way that does make him feel like he is blue aligned, and Rowan is shown in a way where she feels very red aligned. So that is done well, in my opinion. And they did a good job of not making them really two-dimensional. You know, you get to deal with like side emotions that have nothing to do with the, like, let's say, for example, they're on a quest. Again, I'm trying to phrase this in a way where I don't give away spoilers. Let's say, for example, they were on a quest or something. Their entire time isn't just spent thinking about the quest or whatever. They may think about some crush they have on someone or something along those lines. Little details that make you go, okay, you know what, this feels more like an actual person and less of a two-dimensional cutout. I found a real problem with the Gatewatch is they feel like two-dimensional cutouts. And with Will and Rowan, we had only seen them before on the whole Battlebond set world, where they're, I think it's called Kylum or whatever. There's an arena there called Valor's Reach where Will and Kenrith battled together, right? So that's all we had seen about them. We didn't know anything about their history. We don't know anything about their shared spark or any of that. Now, the shared spark itself isn't really covered in the novel. That's something that we found out from Rosewater on Blogatog. But the connection between them, it explores the extraordinary circumstances surrounding their birth. Honestly, I was genuinely impressed to find, like, I'm not going to go into specific details about it, but the story, the details surrounding the twins' birth, which you don't find out until much later in the story, in all honesty, are engaging. They're very interesting. And the way that the twins' spark ignites is also interesting. It's not the standard style of spark igniting, which is cool. I do like most sparks ignite when people's lives are threatened. That's essentially how it goes for 99% of the Planeswalkers. But not so with Will and Kenrith. And right now, I can feel the urge to tell you guys like particular details of the story that are really engaging. Honestly, the interactions, there's one interaction specifically between Garruk and Will, which I'm not going to highlight, but if you want to know later on what it was, I'll tell you, that made me actually smile and just go, nice. They didn't have to put this in here. It's just these little details that make the people feel real. And there was a certain point in the book where talking about stakes, and what I mean by stakes is you have to feel like there's something on the line. Now, we know from the outset that Will and Kenrith can't actually have their lives ended during the course of this book. It would be impossible because we see them later in life at the actual arena on Valor's Reach in Battlebond, right? So we already know that. You know how sometimes stories will drag because you're like, okay, there's no stakes here because these guys can't be injured. But there are other characters in the book that can be. You have no idea what's going to happen with Oko. You have no idea what's going to happen with Garruk. And also the characters that make up Will and Kenrith's party that adventure with them, they are also not on the list of people who can't be wiped out because we don't see them in the future. About most of the characters in the book aren't necessary to go into the future because there's nothing that says in canon these guys survive. And I do remember at a certain point in the book going, I'm starting to feel like there's not much in the way of stakes here. And I'm starting to feel like maybe we have an invulnerable party situation going on where plot armor just protects everybody. And I like George R.R. Martin style stories where people go through horrendous ordeals and there's a cost to them because the cost to them makes the struggle real. Obviously, it's never nice to lose someone's life, but at the same time, by doing so, it adds weight and impact to the story. Now, funnily enough, when I was reading the book, when I got to the point where I thought to myself, man, I'm starting to feel like these guys might be indestructible and there's plot armor, that's when they went, oh, no, watch this. And they went, kablam! And I'm not going to tell you what kablam is, obviously, because again, trying very hard to maintain this as a spoiler-free review, but you will feel like there's stakes and you don't know how things are going to go. There were multiple characters in the book from that point forward where I went, what's going to happen with them? Are they going to survive? Are they going to be gone? And this extended to characters like Garruk and Oko, where I went, oh, are these guys going to survive? What's going to happen to them? And that made it more interesting. It made me want to keep turning the pages. Now, it took me, I got an itchy nose. It took me 3 different sessions, essentially, to make it through the book. I read the first 70 pages in one sitting, the next 70 pages the next night, and then I waited a couple days because Aether Hub is off on his, he's getting married, right? So he's having like a bachelor weekend or whatever, and he said he was going to read the book and get back to me so we can break it into chunks. And I tend to move at lightning pace, all right? So I held myself back because I wanted to wait for him, and I knew if I read the book the entire way through, I'd be more raring to go. And I'm glad I waited a few days to finish the book, because the last third of the book was like so much stuff going on, so good. And there were multiple unexpected moments, and some of them make you feel good inside. They make you feel excited for what's going forward. So overall, the book is absolutely worth reading, as long as you bear in mind, again, that we're talking about a magic novel, and magic novels are middle of the road-esque. But compared to the War of the Spark novel, like the War of the Spark novel is bottom of the barrel trash. Like Wizards of the Coast should be embarrassed to sell it, and you should never buy that book. Don't ever buy it. It's not worth it. And even though I've seen nothing of the second installment of the book written by the same author, my recommendation on that is avoid it at all costs. But the Throne of Eldraine Wildred Quest book is absolutely worth reading. If you want to know more about Throne of Eldraine, right down to interesting little details like what they do with unicorn horns and things of that nature, it's absolutely worth reading. It drips with all kinds of flavor, and it helps inform you more of the world and how they operate. I'm able to appreciate the spoiler cards even more because I've read that novel. And it's only like $4 or $5 in the ebook version. I don't think they actually have a physical version of that, which is fine by me. The ebook version is more than acceptable, but bear in mind, it is short, and there are situations, some things that happened feel like they moved past them too quickly, where it was just kind of like, they went by this too quickly, and it should have had more impact on the characters, and so as a result, you're left thinking, well, wait, this person acted this way earlier in the book, and now they're not acting the way you would expect them to based on what occurred. And it's not like you find out later in the storyline, oh, they're actually acting this way because of this. It just doesn't make sense. And I think it's because, I mean, author's time cost however much money. This author is actually capable. Her name's Kate Elliott, and her writing, I like her writing style. I genuinely enjoyed it. She takes time to describe and set atmosphere, and there are some really cool details that I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys about this book that I can't yet because I gotta wait for the Aether Hub. I would have already had like multiple lore videos about this. I wanted to do a video talking about the Kenrith's parents because you learn about them and their lineage, all kinds of stuff. Will and Kenrith have a very engaging past for Planeswalkers. And I okay. I almost said something that would have been spoiler-esque. Zip. Okay, at this point, I think I've given you guys a pretty good spoiler-free review. If I keep going, I'm bound to slip up and say something that I shouldn't. So, if you want to make sure that you hear all the juicy, delicious flavor chunks that I will put in a delicious flavor lore stew for you, along with the help, or I should say, you know what, never mind. We all know who's taking the leading role on this. It's going to be Aether Hub. The guy's got a bigger channel. He's been a bigger lore daddy than me for a long time. But either way, together, we are going to make a scrumptious lore meal for you folks. So, if you want to make sure you don't miss it, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure you get in my Discord, because YouTube doesn't send out all the notifications, but I always do through my Discord. So hit that sub, And if you want my videos to get spread to more people, make sure to like and comment them as well, because YouTube loves that in the algorithm. It goes, that's a good video, because people are saying stuff. Even if I like goats, YouTube's like, this has got to be a good video. People are saying they like goats on it. So do all that good stuff. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the Aether Hub too, because we are going to do a 1, 2, maybe 3-piece uppercut or more on the series. We haven't really hammered out 100% of the details, but that will be coming soon. So, big shout out to my patrons and my channel members. Thanks for supporting what I do. If you love my work, consider joining the ranks of the people's names that you see on the screen at the end of the video there. And to everyone, I say, remember, together, we are the 6th color of magic.